Alright, welcome back. Welcome back to Tomboy Official. Welcome back to the podcast. Here on this podcast, we talk about gender and LGBTQ plus topics. And that's mostly what we talk about. So I've been in the middle of this series that I've been calling My Queer Dreams. I found another one. It's buried in all of these notes, and my app is being a little glitchy, so please bear with me while I try to pull this up, because when I go into the app to record, once I find the dreams that I've written down and then I go into the app to record, it actually logs me out of the app, and then I can't actually get in without having to log back in and then scroll all the way down. Like, I read a lot in this app, and I do some audio recordings and little video recordings too, and it has like a passcode, so if somebody does have my phone, they can't necessarily just go like up in it and like start reading everything I wrote in there. But the funny thing is I don't always like open the app and like read what I wrote or listen to like the audio recordings or watch the videos or look at the pictures or whatever. They're just like things that maybe I might not want just anybody coming across. Not that anybody's even in my phone, but yeah. So anyways, this dream comes from October 1st of 2020, and I wrote this down at 6:10 a.m. So, before the writing about the dream, there's a sentence that I wrote that said, "First night in a while without weed." So I guess I didn't have any weed that night before, but apparently I woke up early and I was writing this down. So and there's typos and everything, so I'm gonna have to there's typos, so I'm gonna have to kind of expand on things, like read it not word for word, because it's kind of written in like a note form, so I have to kind of like, I'm gonna try to read it as if I'm kind of gonna try to make full sentences out of it. So here we go. So I dreamt about a lot of Masc presenting black females at a house that looked like my grandma's house outside porch, like the outside porch of my grandma's house. The neighborhood was a very, it was like a black community neighborhood. Like, a lot of African Americans and black people lived there. There were a lot of cars around, and the shower in the house was different from my actual grandma's house, and things were everywhere and unorganized, and that's also something that's not like my grandma's house. One of my roommates, I think he was still my roommate at this time. One of my roommates had dishes in the tub, and the water pressure was bad. And the bathroom that was actually in this house was actually the bathroom of my parents' house. So most of the house looked like my grandma's house. The front porch looked like my grandma's house, but it was my parents' house bathroom. I had trouble getting to work, and I left my car with some guy who was doing something related to insurance, then walked to the house to get ready for work, I kept having to find my phone and had other stuff in my backpack. I couldn't find my work director's information, and by nearly 9:30 a.m., I was trying to email her and had trouble. I was debating if I'd call out from work because I was groggy and still thinking of the breakfast I had, the eggs and a perfect bar. Yeah. And there's one more sentence that I'm not going to read. So basically, the parts I remember of this dream, I do remember a bit about this dream. I remember it was kind of like gray skies, kind of. Like it wasn't like sunny, but it was daytime. And I think the whole purpose is like I was trying to get to work. But it's kind of interesting because neither of these places is nearby work. Like my parents' house isn't near work, and then my grandma's house isn't even in the same state. And so I don't know. But yeah, I guess I was having car trouble. And then I do remember going outside. You know how people like pull up outside, like kind of close to a curb or close to like the sidewalk or something like that, and then like you come up to their car and then you're kind of like leaning in the window. I remember a situation kind of like that where I was like talking to this insurance guy person, something related to insurance, and I do specifically remember that there were a lot of black Masc presenting females on the front porch. I don't know who any of these people were off the top of my head. They weren't like YouTubers or any specific thing. It was just people that I dreamt up. I don't know what they were doing there. I don't know the context of why they were there, but they were there. And that kind of stuck out to me in this dream because I was like, why are they there? Because there were a lot of them. Like it was like, I don't remember how many, but I'd say, so I think my grandma's front porch is almost the entire length of the front of the house. I think it's like the whole length of the house. Like it's a pretty large porch, and there's like steps going on one side. When I was growing up, the steps used to go down the front middle. So I think it looked more similar to the steps going down the front middle. And yeah, that old porch had like been falling apart. And then they rebuilt this newer porch where the steps are kind of like towards the side. But then there's railing. So when you walk out the front door, there's just like railing in front of there's like the porch, and then there's railing. And then you have to go left and then go down like, I don't know, 4 or 5 steps just to get like to the driveway. Then the driveway goes to the sidewalk, and the street's right there. But yeah, I remember there being a lot of Masc presenting females out in front of the house. I don't remember really talking to them or anything. Like, I do remember kind of finding it to be like an attractive situation. Like, I was like attracted to them. I don't know if I was attracted to all of them or one of them or what, but I remember there was some kind of a physical attraction. I was like, oh, they're kind of hot, you know? Like, I remember kind of thinking that, but like, I don't remember what they were wearing specifically or anything. Like, I just remember they were black racially. And it's also interesting because my grandma's neighborhood isn't really predominantly a black neighborhood. Like, there's black and white people. I think it's probably predominantly white, but there are black people there. I don't really know the percentages, honestly. I'd have to look it up. Let me look it up. I'm not going to tell you where it is, but let me look it up. Let me see. Bear with me. I'm looking this up to see. Oops. I'm typing. And let's see if it says, excuse me. Okay. Demographics. Ooh. Wow. So, let's see. Okay. Yeah. So it says racial makeup is 81.4% white, 15.7% black, or African American, it says actually, 0.4% Native American, 0.4% Asian. Yeah. And yeah, so that's kind of, I mean, I wouldn't have guessed 81.4% white. That's not very visible. To me, it seems like closer to like 60-40, like a little less black people. 'Cause I'm just thinking about the people I know, because most of the people I know, they were like family members and stuff. And so a lot of my family members do interact with, like, whenever, I don't live there, so a lot of my family members, when I visit, when they have like friends over and stuff, it is oftentimes black people that are visiting, but there are also white people visiting sometimes too. Or like, I have cousins who date or have married white people from the area, or like aunts and uncles who have married like white people from the area. So I mean, I have white aunts, uncles, cousins, mixed cousins, but they're not all from that exact area. But I mean, overall, yeah, half of my family's from there. And so, at least originally, they don't all live there right now though. But yeah, I grew up around there till I was like 5, and so of course it's definitely changed. But yeah, I only really remember seeing like black people, white people, Native American people. There weren't really, to me, it never felt like really diverse. I don't remember there being really like Masc presenting people. I do remember, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there was this girl, it was a little older than me, and when I think about it, I think I had a crush on her. Like, I was like 5. I was 5 or younger, because we moved to LA when I was like in kindergarten, so I was like 5 years old at the max, probably younger than that. And I remember she used to come around on a bike, you know, those bikes with the banana seats, like those kind of lowrider looking bikes. She had a bike like that, and she would always just be riding up and down the street, and like I'd always just like linger outside so she could come by, and like she'd always just like talk to me, because there was like nobody. This is like the middle of nowhere, guys. So like, I can't remember if she had grandparents in the area, or if she lived with, I don't know anything about her. I could probably ask, because everybody would know who I was talking about, and I remember her name too. We weren't like friends necessarily, because she was like way older, and I was pretty isolated. Like, my family, when I was pretty young, my family kept me pretty isolated. Like, I was always with like certain aunts, maybe cousins, but usually with aunts or my parents or my grandma. I was never really like unsupervised, but I was very young. But I was never really just like unsupervised. Like, I remember a little bit, I would be like in the front of the house, front yard, backyard, you know, with friends or like my brother or whatever. But other than like playing with like friends and stuff, we were never really unsupervised. So I wouldn't have been like going to other people's houses without family members, or like nothing like that. Like yeah, I never went to events without family, nothing like that. I was always with family. And so I remember, like, you know, that girl would always come around. Like, I don't know how often. It might have only been like a couple times, but in my head it's like a lot that she like came around, and like she would ride her bike. I don't remember if she lived on the street. I feel like she lived on the same street, but maybe she just had family in different houses. I really don't know. Like, I never went on my own to her house, and you know, we talked like a little bit, but I was like 5 or something. Like, we weren't like talking like that. And she was like she was older. Like, she was not like a teenager, but she was probably like, I don't know. I feel like in my mind she was like 10 or 12 or something. Like, she was older. Like, probably like almost a teenager, or maybe she was just tall. And I remember she was either black or mixed and had like light skin. And I don't really know what I liked about her. I kind of just liked that she like paid attention to me. Like, she would just like, I would stand outside and just like the way that my grandma's house was like set up, there's like a cornfield, there's like a backyard, and behind the backyard there's like a gigantic cornfield that goes like all the way to the other side. And then you know, there's a driveway, and then the driveway is attached to like, you know, the sidewalk. And then the sidewalk before the street, there's like these like this like grass, like this patch of grass that goes like the whole length of the street pretty much. So like between the sidewalk and the actual like street, there's like, instead of a curb, there's like grass there. And then there's kind of like I don't know what you call, like a drain. I don't know what you call it. I don't really see them out here, but there's some kind of like drain looking thing that goes like underneath the driveway, or underneath the driveway part that goes like over the sidewalk. Underneath that part of the driveway that's past the sidewalk, there's like some kind of pipe, like a big metal pipe where I guess water goes through because it rains a lot. I guess it's some kind of a drain. I really don't know what it is, honestly. Like, we don't really have those out here. But this is like in the country, guys. Like, it's like literally it's in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, I would always stand like near, like when my brother was way younger too, but like I'd have cousins and they'd be playing maybe like out in the front, and they all had bikes and were like older and like running around and stuff. And then I had like cousins and some of their friends like in the backyard, and they'd be playing. So I'd be like out front, just like lingering, you know, kind of by the driveway. And then like that girl would always be like on her bike, and she'd like come by and like just like talk about, I don't know what. Like, she'd always be asking me questions, but I can't remember if I even answered. And she seemed like she was nice, and she would be like, I don't know. I really don't remember. Like, I was like 5 years old, but I mean, I appreciated the attention. I don't, you know. Yeah, I was definitely gay. Like, it, like, the signs are all there. I don't think I really knew what was going on. I do remember, like, I did tend to kind of have older, like, want to be around some older females. Some of the time, I kind of gravitated towards being around them. That was something that I do remember growing up, being like, they're cool, like, especially the ones that like play basketball or whatever, and like would just let me hang out with them and stuff, and they'd just be like I thought they were like badass, and they'd be like playing basketball with other friends. Like, I had some family friends, church friends, whatever, that were from like different neighborhoods around LA. And if you know LA, not every neighborhood is like very safe or very good or very wealthy, or not every neighborhood is impoverished or kind of run down either. Like, it just depends where you're at. So I knew people from all over different parts of the city, and I remember having some friends that, you know, would come over, and like, you know, I knew them from playing basketball and sports and church and stuff like that, and I really looked up to them, and I was like, man, I'm so glad they come over a lot. And like, I was always like, I was kind of crushing on a couple of them, and then their friends, I was kind of like, I like their friends and stuff, and like, I recognize it now as like a crush type of thing, but then I didn't know. I was just like, I always want to play basketball with them, like, always. Like, even when I was not in the mood, like, even if my brother was like, hey, let's go play basketball, I'd be like, no. And if they came over like 20 minutes later and they're like, let's play basketball, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah, I'm gonna play. You know, it's like, I didn't even care. But yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, it was interesting. And then yeah, as far as like the Masc presenting stuff, you know, that's kind of a theme, an ongoing theme in my life, you know. That's pretty realistic. That if I ever went to my grandma's house and there was a front porch that was filled with Masc presenting females, I would definitely be pretty thrilled about that situation. So yeah, so I guess that's a lot of explaining, and we went past the dream there, but yeah, a lot of thinking about that area of the world where my grandma has her house. Unfortunately, she's not living anymore. She passed away like 2019, like near Thanksgiving of 2019, and so her house is still there, but one of my aunts, I think my youngest aunt on my mom's side, she got the house, and so it's her house now. But yeah, I really thought that was an interesting dream to come across reading. I kind of remember it too. It's kind of weird, like I can't remember dreams like just off the top of my head. I can't really remember them that good, but after they're written down, sometimes I really don't remember it at all, and then other times I'm like, yeah, like that I do remember. So I do kind of remember that one visually. But yeah, well, I hope that was interesting and entertaining, and thanks for listening.